Good evening. First tonight, a custody battle is playing out in Tangipahoa Parish between a woman who was raped at 16 and her accused attacker.
The investigative unit first told you the story of Krista Abel says, sparking outrage after it was revealed that custody was given to the father, John Barnes, and she was forced to pay child support, and the sheriff's office admitting it dropped the ball in the rape investigation. Chris Nakamoto in court all day today as Abel said tries to get her daughter back and her life back. Chris?
Well, good evening, Michael and Sylvia from the city of Amite, where I can tell you it has been a marathon day here in Tangipahoa Parish. The 15-year-old who is at the center of this bitter custody dispute has been sitting in the courtroom the entire day, listening to all of the testimony tied to that illegal sex act that led to her birth. The big question tonight is whether John Barnes' parental rights will be terminated. Take a look at some video right now. Barnes and his lawyer had nothing to say this morning to our cameras, but he had plenty to say when he was called to testify, blaming Krista because he thought she was a college student. The next morning, the delirium wore off when he learned she was still in high school. Barnes was held in contempt in order to pay Krista's attorney fees for not allowing Krista to talk to her daughter. In court today, there's been a lot of victim bashing going on, asking Krista how many boyfriends she's had and whether she used a fake ID to get into a bar. She maintains she did not. All of this mess being brought up to determine who gets custody of her child who was born from that illegal sex act.
We're kind of going in and just hoping for the best. We don't know.
Have you been able to talk to your daughter, and does she obviously want to live with you, or what are you hearing?
Yes, I speak with her every day now, and she does want to live with me. She said it multiple times to her attorney.
100% wants to live with her mother. She 100% hates her father, and that will come out. She will say that from the stand. I mean, this is a man who insults her. She calls her names. He calls her, terrible names for a child, for a 15-year-old girl, that she's somehow related to prostitution, the sort of colloquial term for that. He calls her that. He makes racial expletive statements about her boyfriend because he's a young black man. I mean, this is a terrible human being we're dealing with, and his daughter really dislikes him and doesn't want to be around him anymore.
Now, it is important to note when this hearing began at 9 a.m., it was established in court and the judge agreed that John Barnes was 30 at the time and Krista Abelseth was 16, which obviously makes that sex act illegal at the time that it happened in 2005. So it's mysterious that all this superfluous information is now being brought up, and it's appalling to the lawyers who are representing Krista Abelseth and the people who know her.
Well, and also shocking that he's not willing to sort of admit the reality of it, right? He wants to recreate reality in his head, that at the time he had sex with her, she wasn't 16, but the next morning she was. And I think that that's complete and utter nonsense, right? I mean, he is attempting to make it justified, right? Just like his attorney is steadily victim blaming, right? She shouldn't have been there, she shouldn't have been drinking, she shouldn't have gone to his house, she shouldn't have waited to report it. I mean, essentially what the argument of the other side is, I'm sorry you were raped, but you waited too long to talk about it. Well, that's just complete and utter nonsense.
Now, within the last hour, all of the people who were not complete parties to this case were kicked out of the courtroom. That's because the Department of Children and Family Services, a couple of their workers were called in to testify. There were 3 complaints made against John Barnes. One came from someone anonymous after the child was hit in the face with an iPad. A second complaint came from a school counselor who was a mandatory reporter who had reported abuse. And a third complaint was made to DCFS when Children's Hospital took in a rape kit alleging that the child alleging that she was sexually abused by her father. Of course, we were kicked out of the courtroom as that hearing was held from those witnesses. And then the 15-year-old, who is the center of this custody dispute, also took the stand. We are not allowed in there for that testimony as that's being sealed. We're told that this is going to be a long hearing that's going to go throughout the night. We're here in Tangipahoa Parish monitoring it, and we will have an update as soon as something happens. Reporting live from Amite, Chris Nakamoto, now back to you.